What's up, Boneheads? I've got a tasty little recipe for you guys today. We are doing a version of poor man's burn-ins, but we're doing it with goose breast. I call these honker bites. They're delicious, they're very simple, and the best thing is it's a great way to use up some of that goose meat in the freezer. Not only that, but today we're making a small portion for just us, but if you've got people coming over for the game, which Husker game day here, or maybe you're just hanging out at hunting camp and you want to put out a nice little appetizer for everybody, this is perfect for that. So let's jump right in and let's make some honker bites. Now for this recipe, I'm doing a smaller batch, so I'm going to grab 2 goose breasts out of the freezer, and then you got to trim these up. Get that membrane, that fat off there, that silver skin, so just kind of go on both sides of that goose breast, clean it up. Next, I'm just going to tenderize these goose breasts a little bit. So I'm just going to take a fork and I'm going to stab it on both sides and get it ready for that marinade. I'm keeping it real simple here, guys. I'm going with Coca-Cola. It can be great to tenderize different pieces of meat. So I'm just putting my goose breasts in a bowl. I'm going to cover them with Coke. I'm going to let these sit for about 6 hours, but ideally you could let it go overnight. All right, now to get started, I'm going to go ahead and cube these up, very similar to a burn-in. You want them a little bit larger. You want maybe 1 to 2 bite pieces. As you can see, I'm taking some big slices off this breast, and then I'm going to chunk them up into 2 or 3 pieces and add them to my mixing bowl. Now when it comes to goose, I like to use a steak rub. That usually pairs really well with goose meat. So I'm going to get this meat nice and covered with some steak rub, and then I'm going to throw in a little barbecue rub at the end, not only to add some flavor, but give it a little bit of that red color to it. So as it sits in that smoker, it gets a nice color to it on the back end. Get everything nice and covered. You can't have too much seasoning, and you know my feelings on this. Use what you like. So put together your own combination, get that meat covered, and then you're ready for the smoker. For this cook, I'm running the Yoder at 275 degrees with hickory pellets. As you can see, I didn't have the patience to put these out one at a time. If I had to do it over, I'd put them on the tray inside and then bring it out for the smoker. But everything looks good. You want to space these out so the smoke can get all the way around it. And traditionally with poor man's burn-ins, you cook the roast first and then you dice it at 165 degrees or cube it. In this case, we're cubing it early, so this is only going to take between probably 60 to 90 minutes in order to hit that 165 degree mark. Here we are, just over an hour and a half, and look how good this looks. You can see that rub on there. It's taking on a little bit of color, and it's still holding that moisture. It's still nice and tender. All right, now when it comes to burn-ins, and especially this recipe, I like to make this concoction and let it foil it and let it sit on the smoker. In this case, I needed the Yoder for something else, so I'm taking the easy route and going with the crock pot. You can also do this in the oven. Your concoction is made of barbecue sauce, butter, honey, barbecue rub, and some brown sugar. I forgot the brown sugar in the video, but I added it on the back end. All of this is going to give you a nice sweet and savory flavor. It's also going to add some color and allow you to caramelize those burn-ins on the back end. Give everything a good mix before you throw it in the crock pot. You're going to have to add a little extra barbecue sauce in this case to help keep that liquid in there and keep everything nice and tender. I'm setting the crock pot on high for about 2 hours, and just make sure you stir this about every 30 to 45 minutes. Keep everything in the sauce and staying coated. All right, guys, here we are 2 hours later. This stuff looks delicious. Now at this point, you should just put this on a pan, let it go ahead and caramelize in the smoker in the oven. I couldn't wait any longer. I was starving. I was ready to dig into these, so I literally dumped them on a plate, and we were ready to go. All right, Boneheads, I'm dying to get into these honker bites. Again, we took them, put them on the smoker, let them go to like 160, 165, put them in our sauce concoction here in the crock pot. And again, we could have left them on the smoker, we could have went through the oven, but for convenience today, we did it in the crock pot. They smell delicious. They did a couple hours, nice and saucy. You could, again, let this glaze set a little bit by pulling them off and just finishing them in the oven for about 15 minutes, but I couldn't wait. I'm telling you, you could shock people that this is actually goose. Nice and tender, full of flavor. This will be a hit next time you make Honker Bites by BoneHead Waterfowl. Cheers.